And to chair the session, we have with us Professor Narendranath Naskar. Of course, he needs no introduction, but still I'll just say a few words about him. He is currently working as the Director Professor in the Department of Public Health Administration at the All India Institute of Hygiene and Public Health. Professor Naskar has more than 22 years experience as a PG teacher. He has been a paper setter and examiner for different PG courses under the West Bengal University of Health Sciences. He has also served in the West Bengal Health Services for more than 10 years. Professor Naskar has published more than 20 scientific papers in national and international journals. And in addition, he has presented many papers in national conferences and chaired many scientific sessions in national and state conferences, some of which we have been lucky to see. And also it is a pleasure and a privilege to introduce for today's session, we have two very distinguished and very eminent personalities with vast experience in the field of silicosis. In order of delivering their lectures, may I first welcome Dr. Komolesh Sarkar. He is a public health physician by training and is currently working as the director ICMR NIOH at the National Institute of Occupational Health at Ahmedabad, India, where he joined on 18th December 2017. Before taking the charges of ICMR NIOH, as you may know, he served ICMR National Institute of Cholera and Enteric Diseases, that is NICED, in Kolkata, in progressive and increasingly responsible positions. Additionally, he also looked after the National Nutrition Monitoring Bureau West Bengal unit as chief from 2009 till 2015. Well, he did his MBBS from Calcutta Medical College in August 84 and his MD in Public Health from the All India Institute of Medical Sciences, New Delhi in 89. He has more than 33 years of professional experience and expertise in control of all sorts of locally prevalent communicable as well as non-communicable diseases, of course, including occupational health problems. He has published more than 70 original articles and has received the prestigious ICMR award, Dr. M.K. Sheshadri Prize, for his significant contribution in the field of HIV and AIDS. Of particular importance is the fact that recently he discovered a biomarker of lung damage, CC16, for early detection of silicosis for the first time in India, in the entire world. He and another group of scientists from ICMR and the National Institute of Virology also developed a CC16 detection kit, which will be available in the market shortly for mass use for controlling both silicosis and TB. And Dr. Sarkar will be telling all about this in his lecture. We also have with us, and it is a pleasure and a privilege to welcome Professor Sushmita Kundu. Again, she needs no introduction. She is currently the professor and head of the Department of Respiratory Medicine at Archikar Medical College. Madam is also the chairperson of the State Task Force, the National Tuberculosis Elimination Program of West Bengal. She has been a medical teacher for 21 years and has authored more than 40 publications in national and international journals. She has also acted as a research guide to many postgraduate trainees over the last 21 years, and she is also in charge of the National Program for the Elimination of Silicosis in West Bengal. Sir, it is a privilege, it is a pleasure. May I ask Professor Narendranath Naskar to please take over as chairman of the session.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Obhijit. It is my pleasure to chair the session because I could not refuse your offer. And also, we must welcome to renowned speaker, Dr. Komolesh Sarkar. You have already given him the introduction, and also Dr. Sushmita Kundu. And at this moment, this is a very burning issue about this particular subject. The silicosis is a silent killer, though preventable, but it is incurable diseases. So I came to know that no such national prevalence of this particular disease all over India, unlike in the Western country, because of many shortcomings. Okay, today's topic will be restricted to the silicotuberculosis, and we are going behind the time. So let Dr. Komolesh Sarkar, please start your presentation.
Yeah. Good afternoon and good evening. I thank Dr. Obijit for generous introduction. I also thank the organizer for giving me opportunity to speak here in this state conference. So Dr. Obijit, can you operate from your end the slide?
Yes, sir, I think I can.
যাচ্ছে। নয়তো তুমি বসো না।
Sir, can you see it, sir? Sir, your audio is muted, sir.
Sir, your audio muted. Romulus, sir.
Okay, go to the next slide. Yeah, this is my first slide. See, you see some of the pictures. This is a very common scenario we often see. As long as these kind of operations will continue, silicosis will continue to exist. These are basically, you see the manual cutting of the sandstone, the dry drilling of the sandstone, which generates a lot of dust, which contains a high amount of silica particles, particularly free silica, and industrial hygiene plays a big role in dust control. Next slide. This is also another scenario where the manual cutting of this sandstone, which contains a very high amount of silica. Next slide. Next, can you, am I audible?
Sir.
This is another very common scenario. It's a stone quarry. It was taken from Birbhum, West Bengal. Now let us come to little bit, no, just go back. Previous slide. Silicosis, as you know, most of you know, I think all of you know. Next slide. Next. Silicosis is a form of pneumoconiosis caused by inhalation of crystalline silica dust and is marked by inflammation and scarring of the lungs, which produces nodular lesions detectable by chest X-ray. It comes as a patchy white opacities. Now, many of you know that silicosis is caused by inhalation of respirable dust with a diameter of 0.5 to 3 micron, which contains not less than 5% of free silica. Whenever dust contains less than 5% free silica, it usually does not produce silicosis, such as the common sand, which does not produce silicosis. Whereas the granite stone, it produces silicosis because it has a higher content of silica. Silicosis, you know that it's a progressive, irreversible, and incurable disease. And progression of silicosis depends on mainly silica content of the inhaled dust, the quantity of inhaled dust per unit time, and duration of exposure or duration of inhalation. On my right side, you see there is a picture of the lung. You see whenever here is the diameter is less than 3 or less than 3 micron, it reaches up to the level of alveolus. But when it is higher than 4 or higher diameter, it usually gets trapped in the bronchus. And when it is more than 10 microns, it gets trapped in the throat and it causes usually inhalation, irritation of the throat. Next slide. Clinically, there are three types of silicosis. You know that acute silicosis, accelerated silicosis, and chronic silicosis. Chronic silicosis is the widely prevalent. Whatever we see in and around us is mostly the chronic silicosis. It takes more than 10 years to develop, and continuous exposure of low levels of silica it produces. Whereas the acute silicosis, it is a rapidly progressive condition when exposed to very high concentration of silica. Time usually occurs, so latency period is usually less than 2 years. Whereas in the accelerated silicosis, latency period is usually more than 2 but less than 10 years. Excellent. Coming to a little bit of epidemiology, India, as you know, has a huge burden of silicosis and mostly in the unorganized sector workers. It was estimated that about 11.5 million workers are at the risk of day-to-day exposure of silica particles. And silicosis is often associated with silicotuberculosis. And other important comorbidities are the lung cancer, nephrotoxicity, and there is increased chances of stroke and heart diseases. There is a lifetime risk of developing pulmonary tuberculosis in silicotic subjects, even after destruction of lung immunity, which makes one person, silicotic person, vulnerable to pulmonary tuberculosis. Next. It appears that unless silicosis is controlled, TB will not be controlled or eliminated in India. We have targeted that by 2025, TB should be eliminated. But based on our working experience, our realization is this: unless we control silica or silicosis, particularly silicosis, TB elimination will be a difficult and very challenging. So, urgent initiation of national silicosis control program is needed for dual control of both silicosis as well as tuberculosis. Silicosis, on the other hand, is usually diagnosed in a moderate or in advanced stage when nothing much can be done to prolong the victim's life. Hence, secondary prevention. Primary prevention is difficult because of lack of awareness, unemployment problem, poverty, etc. Primary prevention is really difficult. Whereas secondary prevention is an alternative option, provided we have a suitable biomarker or predictor by which we can detect it at the early stage. Next slide. Actually, our institute, the National Institute of Occupational Health, conclusively evidenced by its first study or the initial study that the serum, there is a lung protein which is known as the club cell protein 16, or in short it is known as CC16, which could be used as a proxy marker in occupationally the silica dust exposed workers. That study showed that there is an inverse relationship between CC16, the serum CC16. This CC16 is a protein which is secreted by the non-ciliated, non-mucus secreting cells, which is known as the club cell. Earlier it was known as the Clara cell. It has been observed that in the terminal bronchioles, as much as 20%, 22% of the epithelial cells are club cells. Club cells secrete a protein which is known as CC16.
আজকে সোমবারে পাঠাবো
Now, is there any problem? Can you hear? Am I audible?
ওই যে কি একটা ইনকাম ট্যাক্সের
করার কথা বলছি তো স্যার করছি ওটা পরপর হচ্ছে না
ওই পরপর পারি না তো আমিও তো পারি পরপর করতে পারি না এখন যাকে দেব সে এখন পরপর না দিলে
Please
Please
mute
mute.
the others who are not speaking. Please mute your microphone.
So,
Administrative.
our initial study showed that the more the duration, lesser is the CC16, serum CC16. The CC16 is available in the urine, CC16 is available in sputum, CC16 is available in serum. But why we choose to take serum? Because the serum CC16 concentration is more stable, whereas urine, the value is highly flexible. When the urine concentration is high, the value is something different. When urine is diluted, value is different. That's why we took the serum concentration. So after that initial study, then we conducted second study. There we approximately estimated the lung damage, and we tried to assess the relationship between the amount of lung damage and the amount of serum CC16 present in the blood. And we found it is similarly inversely proportional to the amount of lung damage. Higher the lung damage, lesser is the CC16 value. Next slide.
Should I go to the next slide, sir?
And this is just a plain X-ray which shows silicosis. You see there is a patchy nodular opacities, diffuse patchy nodular opacities on both sides. We need to remember one thing: the silica particle, as it is a dust, so it has a tendency, it flies. Basically, it has a tendency to go upwards. So usually, upper and middle lobe get affected. Whereas in the asbestosis, since it is a fiber, it's a little bit heavy, so it goes down. So in the asbestosis, you will find the opacities usually in the lower part of the lungs. Next. So how did we estimate lung damage? This is a formula, or you can say method developed by us for the purpose of this study. Nowhere you will find this methodology. This lung damage scoring system and categorization of lung damage, it was developed based on 4 factors. What is the small opacities? In my earlier slide intro, you have seen that there is a small opacity, small patchy opacities, that is known as small opacities as per ILO radiography description. And the second thing is the size of large opacities. When small opacities coalesce together, they form large opacities. Third one is the profusion opacity, or the transparency, the reduced transparency, that is known as the profusion. Fourth one is the zones of lungs involved. Radiologically, each lung is divided into 3 zones: upper, middle, and lower. So based on radiography, we try to estimate the lung damage scoring system based on size of small opacities, size of large opacities, profusion of opacity, and zones of lung involvement. Next slide. The total scoring was obtained. Then previous one. The lung damage score, the total lung damage score was obtained by this formula. Total lung damage score was obtained by this formula X into Y into Z plus L, where X is the small opacities, Y is the proportion of opacities, Z is the number of affected zones, and L is the large opacities. The scoring values and other details are given in the paper which we have published, and those who are interested, we can provide you the copies of this paper after the end of this presentation. You will get the details how did we calculate about it. The severe lung damage was considered when lung damage score is above 15. Moderate lung damage score was considered when it is between 7 and 15, and mild lung damage was considered when it is between 1 and 6. This lung damage scoring system is based on the description given by ILO radiography for evaluation of silicotic chest X-ray. Actually, we took a training from Thailand where we were taught about how to evaluate chest radiography for detecting silicosis. So based on that, we made this formula and we developed this for evaluation of silicosis. Next slide. This slide shows the relationship between age, duration of exposure, lung damage score, and serum CC16 together. Altogether, 190 persons were subjected. Of them, 32 were healthy persons without any exposure, whereas the mild lung damage was only 8%, moderate was 76, and high lung damage, we had 33 high lung damage persons. Age, you see the mean age for healthy 37.5, mild 50.5, moderate 46, and high 47. Duration of exposure, mild 28.6 and moderate 21 and high 19.8. Lung damage score for mild it was 3.3 because 1 to 6 was the range, and moderate it was 9.9 and high it was the 19.9. Serum CC16 value was for healthy persons it was 16.3 nanogram per milliliter. For mild it was 8.4 nanogram per milliliter. Moderate it was 4 nanogram per milliliter, and high it was 0.7 nanogram per milliliter. Next slide. This slide shows the relationship between the lung damage and serum CC16. The green zone reflects the serum CC16, and the lung red one represents the lung damage portion. You see the left bar is the healthy persons, where the average CC16 mean CC16 value is 16.3 nanogram per milliliter, whereas when there is a mild lung damage, it was 8.4 nanogram per milliliter. For moderate lung damage, it was 4 nanogram per milliliter, and for high lung damage, severe lung damage, it was 0.7 nanogram per milliliter. Next. Based on that, we tried to say, or we tried to classify the lung damage and CC16. The normal lung, the CC16 value remains between 12 and 20. The average value or the mean value is 16 nanogram per milliliter. Very early lung damage, but not detectable or undetectable by chest X-ray, which is CC16 more than 9 up to 12 nanogram per milliliter. Mild lung damage is when CC16 more than 6, but up to 9 nanogram per milliliter, it is the mild lung damage. Moderate is CC16 more than 3 up to 6, and severe lung damage 0 to 3 nanogram per milliliter. So based on CC16, we can also evaluate the lung damage in silicotic subjects in this way. And value will remain. There is one confounder that we need to take care. Value will be 1 to 2 nanogram per milliliter lesser in smoker. Those who are heavy smoker, it will be 2 nanogram lower. But in case of moderate smoker, it will be 1 nanogram per milliliter lesser, which becomes close to the non-smoking value on cessation of smoking for 2 to 3 months. So either before doing this CC16 evaluation, either he has to refrain smoking for at least 2 months, or you have to adjust the value as per this smoking relationship with smoking. You need to adjust the value. Next. Following that, we try to develop and ultimately develop this CC16 detection kit, which is similar to the pregnancy detection kit. It is a point of care, user-friendly, semi-quantitative, using lateral flow immunochromatographic technique. Actually, we have our one biotechnologist colleague from National Institute of Virology, Mumbai unit. I just gave him the idea, and ultimately he produced that. He developed in his laboratory with his colleagues. You see the serial number 1, the first one, upper left side. There is one red band. It is this side, the red band. It is known as negative control. If this red band does not appear, that means test is invalid. Then the right upper one, serial number 2. In the test zone, there is only one red band. When there is one red band, it coincides with the CC16 value 0 to 6 nanogram per milliliter. That means from moderate to severe lung damage. And the left lower one, here in the control zone, there is the negative control one, and in the test zone there are 2 bands. 2 bands means it is the 6.1, that is more than 6 to 9 nanogram per milliliter. That means it is suspected early silicosis. And the fourth one, right left one, there in the control zone there is the red band and 1 band, and in the test line test zone there are 3 bands. 3 bands means it is more than 9 nanogram per milliliter. So these value will appear immediately after 10 minutes. And in this depressed area, the circular depressed area, you need to put 1 drop of blood, and automatically blood will flow through those lines, and these lines will be produced after 10 minutes. Next slide. This will look like the final shape of the this kit. Next slide. So this is by concluding the serum CC16 could be used as a proxy marker for workers with history of occupational silica dust exposure. We need to remember our group is having history of occupational silica dust exposure. So those who are having history of occupational silica dust exposure, they must undergo this test at least once in a year, so that the early detection is possible. And we have suggested that all primary healthcare workers need to be trained towards this to support above activities, and all vulnerable unorganized sector workers with history of silica dust exposure must undergo annual screening of his CC16 status to nearby primary health center. Suspected cases means those who will be having the 6 to 9 or below 9, these value they must confirm their situation by chest X-ray. All vulnerable unorganized sector workers, including hired contractual workers, must undergo serum CC16 evaluation annually, and this value to be linked with unique identifiers such as Aadhaar. Because in our country, we have a lot of migrant workers. This year, he may work in Punjab. Next year, he may go to some other state, Haryana state. So, for this all high mobile persons to link there or to follow up there longitudinally, it needs to be linked with Aadhaar. This is our suggestion, but we are not sure how much it will be implemented. A suitable legislation is required jointly by the relevant authorities, that is Ministry of Health, Ministry of Labour, Ministry of Mines and Industries together. And finally, a national silicosis control program is urgently needed by the country for control of silicosis and silicotuberculosis. Once silicosis is detected at early stage, the sputum of the silicotic persons, that early silicotic person, to be evaluated by CBNet or TrueNet, so that the early silicotuberculosis can be established, diagnosed. Next. these are two publications. The right one is it was published in Nature Scientific Reports. It is not yet published, but soon it will be published. And the left one is it was published in Health Science Report. That is Wiley Online, USA-based journal. This describes about the secondary prevention of silicosis and silicotuberculosis by periodic screening of silica dust exposed workers using serum club cell protein as a proxy marker. So now ICMR has already approved both the things, both this marker, biomarker, and the CC16 kit, and ICMR has already commercialized, or ICMR has given permission to two of the manufacturers, two of the companies, one based in Chennai, one based in Delhi. The Delhi-based company has already started manufacturing it, and hopefully by January, end of January, it will be available in the market. And lot of states, particularly state of Rajasthan, state of Jharkhand, state of Odisha, they are constantly in touch with me. They want to implement for prevention of silicosis using that kit. So hopefully by early next year, we will be able to see the successful journey of this for silicosis control. Next slide. Oh, gentlemen, thank you very much for attending.
Thank you, Professor Dr. Kamlesh Sarkar. Nicely you have presented. Am I audible?
Yes, please.
Okay. So nicely you have presented a significant scientific invention, and also in this scope you have narrated the cause of silicosis, exposure site, pathogenesis, pathology, type, your incubation period, epidemiology, everything. So more than 1.5 crores of people are being at risk of having this particular disease, and because this is underreported, so I don't know how much. And you also told that the risk of TB is much more among the silicotic person. And it has been also, I have seen somewhere that 50% of silicotic patients reporting that silicotuberculosis. And regarding the, you have realized that immediate national program of silicosis prevention is urgently needed to prevent this menace. Now, another thing, what you have also given us that is very new to us, that a biomarker or a proxy marker CC16, which the inversely related to the lung damage, is a very, I think, a historic invention by your institute, and already being recommended, and I think government will apply this in different area. And this actually, because I must thank you again that your valuable presentation, because it's afternoon session, you know, few observers as I am observing. Okay, still is a very, that should be seen by many viewers. It's a very important observation. And silicosis, as you know, the silent killer actually. Very few studies are authentic. Actually, wherever you go for study, you know what is going on. You don't find the actual figure. They will stop you to go inside, and it is very tough. So whatever is there, we must take action immediately, and government should realize, not only through the court direction, but also should realize this particular thing. Thank you again, and thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I am switch overing to Abhijit. Abhijit, I cannot hear you. Okay, so let's my next presentation. I can call upon Professor Susmita Kundu, the Professor and Head of Respiratory Medicine at Jikor Medical College. for his her presentation. Please. Abhijit. Oh, acha, ठीक है. Professor Kundu, please.
Madam is there.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, madam.
Abhijit, can I start?
Yes, madam, please.
Very good afternoon, everybody. This is a fag end of the day with such a nice presentation and this new thing that CC16 presented by Dr. Kamlesh Sarkar. I think there will be many repetition of the information regarding silicosis, but I will try. And at first, I must thank the organizer for giving me this opportunity, as well as particularly Rivu and Abhijit for asking me to talk on silicosis. So let's start. I am giving this topic, Silicosis Control Program in East Bengal. Before going to the control program, I think we must know few things about silicosis. Many of the things are already discussed by Dr. Sarkar. Silicosis is a notifiable disease under third schedule, that is Factories Act 1948 and Employees State Insurance Act 1948, the Mines Act 1952, the Building and Other Constructive Workers Act, that is 1996. So it is a notifiable disease. Now, what is silicosis? It is already been discussed. This is one of the pneumoconiosis. What is pneumoconiosis? That is International Labour Organization defined pneumoconiosis as the accumulation of dust in the lungs and the tissue reaction to its presence. The main reaction to mineral dust in the lungs is fibrosis. When the silica particle, fibrotic lung disease is caused by the silica particle that is attributable to the inhalation of crystalline silica, usually in the form of pores, and less commonly it is cristobolite and tridymite. Then it is called silicosis. Silicosis is common because the element, it is the second most common in the earth and 8th most common element in the universe. Now, the industry's silicosis is an ancient disease, first reported in 1556. Silicosis is often the result of exposure in the remote past and not in the current workplace. The risk for silicosis depend upon the level of exposure. Now, already this is discussed, what are the occupations, those who are exposed, because for prevention, we must know what are the occupation that the workers are exposed or risk for silicosis. This mining, tunneling, excavation, quarrying, stonework, foundries, abrasive work, sandblasting, ceramics, and others, that is importantly glass making, boiler scaling, traditional craft, stone grinding, gemstone workers, even dental extraction, and concrete construction, that is denim workers. And you can see those occupations where the prevalence is high. And at the bottom, you can see the slate pencil worker, that is 54% prevalence. Next is agate workers, stone work cutters, and mica miners, that is 34% prevalence. Now, the silica dust, that is the quality of the dust that will produce silicosis. More lung reaction depends on the nature and property of dust, the amount of dust retained by the lung, the duration of exposure, and individual susceptibility, and immunological reactivity of the subject. Now, the silicosis, there are different types of silicosis. There is silicosis that may be chronic silicosis, accelerated silicosis, already said acute silicosis. It is also called silicoproteinosis, and progressive massive fibrosis. The silicosis may produce chronic obstructive lung disease, that is emphysema, chronic bronchitis, and mineral dust induced small airway disease. Sometimes silicosis may ultimately lead to lung cancer, mycobacterial infection, that is more silicotic patients are more prone to develop not only mycobacterium tuberculosis, classical complex, but non-tubercular mycobacteria also. Immune-related disease such as progressive systemic sclerosis, rheumatoid arthritis, chronic renal disease, and systemic lupus erythematosus. Now, among the three types of silicosis, chronic or simple silicosis, most common form of the disease, and it is developed more than 10 years after exposure. And the pathological hallmark of this disease, of this variety, is silicotic nodule, and it is usually less than 1 centimeter in size. The mature lesion is characterized by a central area of whole hyalinized collagen fibers with a more peripheral zone of dust-laden macrophages. That is, central area is hyalinized, and that areas contain no viable tissue or viable cells. And the birefringent particle can be seen in the nodule with light microscope. Now, silicotic nodule usually start in the hilum, hilar lymph node, and then the disease process next involve the lung parenchyma, where the nodules are discrete, that is type 3 to 5 millimeter diameter, and it is palpable. Silicosis is usually bilateral, involving the upper zone, and the other organs are also involved in silicosis, like visceral pleura, neck nodes, and even the abdominal lymph node, abdominal organs. The pathogenesis, the mechanism is unknown, but it is thought to be mediated by a generation of reactive oxygen species, both by the surface of the silica particles themselves and by activation of alveolar macrophages. The nature and the extent of the biological response are in general related to the intensity of exposure. Time and again, we are saying that intensity of exposure is an important factor. Freshly fractured silica may be more toxic than aged silica containing dust. And how again this fibrosis develop? There is recruitment of polymorphonuclear leukocyte, lymphocyte, as well as additional macrophages. Fibroblast stimulating factors are released that promote hyalinization and collagen deposition, and ultimately the resulting pathological lesion is the silicotic nodule. So how it looks like in the simple silicosis, you can see the macroscopic picture of the lung. It is studied with the blackish nodules, and when it is a complicated silicosis, that means progressive massive fibrosis. You can see the right hand side left, the lower right hand side, the radiology, and that is the almost the whole lung is white, and in the lung macroscopic picture, you can see. There is the lung is studied with the almost black conglomerated nodules. This is complicated silicosis or progressive massive fibrosis. So this is the silicotic nodule. You can see the central whole hyalinized acellular material, and it is surrounded by peripheral zone of alveolar dust-laden macrophages. Now, the clinically how and when you will suspect patient probably is having silicosis, definitely exposure to silica dust, and patient will be present with the primary symptom is shortness of breath. Initially occurs with exertion, later present at rest, also as rate when it is advanced, functional reserve of lung has decreased. The appearance or progression of dyspnea may herald the development of complication from silicosis, like tuberculosis, airway obstruction, progressive massive fibrosis, cor pulmonale, or respiratory failure. Other features may be cough. It may be usually dry cough, or sometimes if it is associated with bronchitis, may be productive. Sometimes patient may present with hemoptysis, and in that case, you must suspect whether patient has developed tuberculosis or patient has lung cancer. Patient may have lung cancer. Now, diagnosis of silicosis. So, the history of significant exposure to silica dust. So, patient's occupational history is very important, and the occupation, as a doctor, we must know what are the occupations where patient is exposed to silica dust. An abnormal chest X-ray or chest CT scan, then the medical evaluation to rule out other causes of abnormal chest X-ray. Similar chest X-ray may be some other causes also, maybe more than other causes. So we have to, as a clinician, we have to exclude the other causes. Then to see extent of the deterioration of lung pulmonary function. So we have to do pulmonary function test, and this is a very good thing that Dr. Sarkar has pointed out. If serum CC16 is available throughout India, then that will be very much helpful for us clinician to diagnose silicosis earlier, and lung biopsy is rarely needed. Now, a little bit about radiology, I will just touch these things. Radiographic signs of uncompleted silicosis are generally small rounded opacities, that is called silicotic nodule, predominantly in the upper part of the upper zone, and hilar lymphadenopathy is noted, and axial calcification of the lymph node, that is very classical of silicosis. Large fibrotic lesions of PMF, progressive massive fibrosis, tend to contract to the upper lung zone, leaving areas of compensatory emphysema at their margin and in the lung base. So these are few radiological pictures. In the right side, you can see there is a hilar opacities as well as few nodular opacities. But the next picture is a little bit clear. You can see there are nodular opacity both in the upper zone as well as mid zone, and there is a hilar heaviness on the left hand side. And this is, you can see the calcification of the lymph node, and one or two, many of these lymph nodes are showing this peripheral calcification predominantly, that is called axial calcification. Now the next variety, the progressive massive fibrosis. It is one or more groups of small lung nodules of chronic silicosis that may coalesce and result in larger shadows on the chest X-ray more than 1 centimeter, and heralding the onset of complications or conglomerated silicosis, and that is often called progressive massive fibrosis. The one important thing, the progressive illness may occur even after exposure to silica containing dust has ceased, associated with a clinically important compromise of lung structure and function, particularly when there is PMF. So one example of PMF, then another example of progressive massive fibrosis. Now accelerated silicosis. That's chronic or simple silicosis when exposure is more than 10 years. And here exposure is latency period is for 5 to 10 years. And this accelerated silicosis develops more rapidly than the chronic variety. Symptoms, radiographic finding, physiological measurement, and lung pathology are similar, like simple silicosis. Deterioration in lung function here more rapid than the chronic one, and autoimmune disorders, as I've already stated, they are more common in this group. So one of the example of accelerated silicosis. Now acute silicosis or silicoproteinosis. If we do not diagnose the case in time and we do not take the appropriate action promptly, we may lose the patient. Patient will die. Develop within a few months up to 5 years after a massive inhalation of silica. When there is excessive exposure to silica dust, this patient may develop this acute silicosis within months. Dramatic dyspnea, weakness, and weight loss are often presenting symptoms. The radiographic pattern is dominated by diffuse alveolar filling pattern with a lower lung zone predominance. In the other two silicosis variety, we said there is upper zone predominance, here lower lung zone predominance. Histological findings similar to pulmonary alveolar proteinosis, and that's why patient for salvage of the patient we need a bronchoalveolar lavage. Clinical course is very rapid, progression to severe hypoxic respiratory failure and death. So this is one of the example of acute silicosis. This is the CT picture. Now, silicotuberculosis. Definitely, silicosis patient who suffers from silicosis, they are more prone to develop tuberculosis. But why? Because silica is a cytotoxic to alveolar macrophages, and these alveolar macrophages they protect against tuberculosis. So those patients suffering from silicosis, they are more prone to develop tuberculosis. Rate of active tuberculosis in silicotic subject range from 2 to 30-fold more than those who are in same workforce without silicosis. TB may complicate all forms of silicosis, but it is more common in acute and accelerated variety. And exposure to another interesting thing, exposure to silica without silicosis may also predispose individual to tuberculosis. ILO classification of pneumoconiosis and radiography. I will not go into that detail. Dr. Sarkar has already touched. I will also just touch this topic and few radiology only. So maybe patient may have after silica exposed patient or subjects, workers may have small opacities or large opacities. Small opacities may have defined as profusion, affected zone of the lung, shape and size. Profusion may be on the 4 categories. In these 4 categories, again subdivided into another 12 categories. I am not going in that detail. Now, affected zone, the lung, chest, X-ray are divided into 3 zones: upper, middle, and lower zones. Now, shape and size. When the shape rounded and regular, it is PQR, and when it is irregular, it is called STU. P means when the diameter of the small opacities is less than 1.5 millimeter. And 1.5 millimeter to 3 millimeter, it is Q, and when it is 3 millimeter to 10 millimeter, it is R. And it is irregular opacities, that is S2, ST, and U. And this irregular opacity, smaller one with width less than 1.5 millimeter, that is S, 1.5 to 3 millimeter, that is T, and 3 to 10 millimeter, that is U. I am not going into the larger opacities. You can see the upper row, that is P, Q, and R. You can see the size of the opacities gradually increasing. And at the lower part, location of the parenchymal scarring, upper zone, mid zone, and lower zone. The fibrotic process of silicosis is thought to be irreversible. That is the prevention part. Now I am going to the preventive aspect of the silicosis and how West Bengal is organizing this silicosis control program or helping the patients, the workers who are exposed to silica. The fibrotic process of chronic silicosis is thought to be irreversible and thought to be not. It is irreversible. This prevention is the best option. A change in to an environment free of silica containing dust should be advised. The disease will generally progress even without further exposure, but the rate of deterioration may be reduced. Effective exposure control are available for most processes that include process enclosure. That means when this silica, where the silica processing is done, that should be an enclosed place. One option. Another is wet abrasive technique. That means where these silica particles are generated from any industries, that with frequent spray of water. That is called wet abrasive technique. And local exhaust ventilation. If it is all are tried, but nothing is 100% giving the 100% protection. So local exhaust ventilation combined with a comprehensive approach to personal protection. If you give the patient a face mask, that will not give the subject 100% protection. Along with all other things, the patient will the subject will wear a personal protective mask. Now, West Bengal needs, like all states, West Bengal needs a formal standard operative procedure for control of silicosis. Why? Number one, to identify silica-prone industries, factories, construction sites, and establishment, and any other work site. That is already been discussed by both my previous speaker as well as I also told you what are the industries those that generate this silica particles. And proactively ensure the prevention. This is the best option. And then if patient is already exposed, patient have developed shortness of breath, then we have to diagnose the patient. So diagnose, treatment, payment. If already patient is respiratory advanced respiratory problem, shortness of breath, respiratory people, then payment of relief and compensation. rehabilitation, and implementation of provision of various welfare measures to workers suffering from silicosis as well as to their families also. Now, to establish support structure for workers affected by silicosis or any sort of pneumoconiosis in registering claims and obtaining compensation under the stipulated legal purview. Enhance awareness and build capacities of employers, not only the workers, but those who are employing the workers. They should know what precaution they should take. So the capacity building and awareness for the employers, workers, elected representative, line departments, as well as the citizens, all should be aware. Now, diagnosis and certification. The patient is suffering from silicosis, so there must be a certificate. Registration on the management information system. That is, all suspected patients of silicosis, they must register this management information system, MIS. And this, how they should register? They can register through online or through employee state insurance hospital, community health center, government hospital, mobile medical vans, and any other modes as prescribed by the state government from time to time. Now, screening at the first level, after enrolling in the MIS, screening at the district hospital. Once the registration is complete, a date for diagnostic clinic screening at the district hospital must be auto-generated by the MIS software. The date for screening will be based on a first in, first out basis. Those who are coming first, they will be screened earlier. The screening of all applications received by the hospital should be complete within 7 days, maximum up to 15 days. And in community health center, it is the responsibility of the district tuberculosis officer or concerned medical officer to ensure that the screening is completed within 15 days. So what will they do? This district hospital. District hospital, they will do the screen whether silicosis is likely or not. It is not likely. When they think it is silicosis likely, then if his person is found silicosis likely, the case should be referred to the pneumoconiosis board automatically, and the date of diagnosis at medical board will be generated automatically on a FIFO basis. This date will be within 1 month and a maximum of 6 weeks. That means 1.5 months from the date of enrollment or screening at the government hospital. If the patient, the worker is the person is found silicosis not likely, then the person would have the option to appeal in front of the DTO or district level doctor appointed by the government. The appeal has to be disposed within 1 month. But the subject can reapply, and that should be after 6 months. Once he is denied that he is not likely to have silicosis is not likely, then he again can apply for another examination after 6 months. Now, MIS and data entry, all screening authorities, including the appellate authority, will record the finding of screening in the MIS. MIS will have mechanism to ensure that all records are maintained online and accessible for subsequent treatment and diagnosis. Here I have forgot to mention one thing, that is this pneumoconiosis board. Here in West Bengal, that pneumoconiosis board is in the labor department, and when the case is referred to them from the health authority, they have their board with 4 members, one radiology, one respiratory physician, and the other members. So they decide, they see the patient, they compare the radiology, and they ultimately give the stamp silicosis likely or not likely. That is from in West Bengal, it is from the labor department. So data entry, I have already told you, MIS will have mechanism to ensure that all records are maintained online and accessible for subsequent treatment and diagnosis. Diagnosis as silicosis board that is first in, first out basis. And once the district hospital affiliate authority would provide a confirmed diagnosis with a precise cause of ailment to the person undergoing the screening. This is particularly for those who are not suffering from silicosis. And the person should be also be provided with the further course of treatment. So when he is not having silicosis, that is the board has decided, then what is his diagnosis and what treatment he should do, he should take, that should be advised by the authority. Now the certificate, if the person is found silicosis confirmed, a certificate with a digital signature would be generated automatically by the MIS and handed over to the person on the same day. And the case would be transferred to the dashboard of the district magistrate for disbursal of monetary relief and enrollment in other welfare measures. So monetary relief in silicosis, when it is silicosis confirmed, that is they get one time, that is 2 lakhs and 2 rupees 2 lakhs, and those who have died of silicosis, they get rupees 4 lakhs. That is one time disbursement of money. In case the person is found to be silicosis not confirmed, then the person would have the option to appeal in front of the appellate board appointed by the government. In case any worker who has died before the notification of the present policy, the dependent of such person can approach the medical board for an examination of the case along with all relevant medical records. In case the board finds merit in the case, the worker will be registered under this policy and all benefits will be provided to the dependent family members accordingly. Person who has received a certificate from the pneumoconiosis board should register on MIS within 2 weeks. All silicosis confirmed cases would be provided with a photo ID card and medical treatment booklet. In the ID card, we will have the details of the dependent of the person. Workers confirmed as suffering from silicosis and registered on the Employees State Insurance, that means ESI Act 1948, shall be given treatment at the assigned hospital. And those who are not enrolled in the ESI, then what will happen? In their cases, their dependents shall be provided free treatment, investigations, and medicine by the health department in all the district hospitals and medical colleges in the state. In case some tests, medicines, or equipments for the treatment of the silicosis affected worker are not available with the health department, the same may be procured from the open market by them, and the payment for the same shall be reimbursed by the labor department when the subject is not enrolled under ESI. The treatment and the medicine will be provided free of cost for life for the person certified as silicosis confirmed and his or her husband, wife or husband, and also will be provided to the children till they turn adults. Payment of compensation, workers registered under the Employees ESI Act 1948 shall be given compensation as per the provision of the ESI Act, and other workers who are not registered under the ESI Act shall be given compensation as per the provision of the Workmen's Compensation Act 1923. Non-workers found suffering from silicosis would be provided compensation as per Workmen's Compensation Act 1923. For such cases, compensation will be paid by the state government. Relief and rehabilitation. Once the patient is certified as silicosis confirmed, the district magistrate should disburse the fund for monetary relief within 1 week from the date of diagnosis. Aadhaar number and bank account details with details of nominee for the transfer of money through direct bank transfer are required. These details should be updated in the MIS immediately. So this is as far as this prevention as well as disbursement, diagnosis of silicosis, and how the patient will get the money, this compensation, and everything what I know I have shared with you. Thank you for your patience here.
Thank you, ma'am, for your elaborate and very good presentation. And we can recapitulate, our audience can recapitulate again the total picture of silicosis. And not only that, Madam has nicely narrated that it is a notifiable disease, the definition, the pathogenesis, and the dust reaction, the outcome like COPD, lung cancer, TB, and other immunological diseases, and others chronic and simple outcome. And the clinical features also, depending upon the X-ray, history, pulmonary function test, lung biopsy, and all the radiological feature, she has nicely elaborated, including the radiological picture of ILO classification. Also the preventive part regarding the engineering control, dust control, and also Madam narrated standard operating procedure for prevention in different workplace. And also she highlighted the awareness program among the high risk group and who are working in that particular area, and how to produce the certificate, where to report, and the certification process. And because silicosis is a compensable disease, so how to get certificate and the timeline, everything, and the screening level at different level. But most important, Madam also narrated the awareness, because it is incurable disease. It is mostly preventable, and that's need to be aware among the general population and high risk area. So thank you again, ma'am, and for your elaborate presentation. We learned a lot from in a new way. So thank you again.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, Abhijit, I am switching over to you, please.
Yes, sir. We'll get back to Dr. Ribu to continue with the other sessions.
Yes, sir. As the time